Welcome back to Whiskey with E. I'm Eric. Now today we do have a whiskey with the E. It is something that I used to enjoy quite frequently, and since I have just opened the Weller 12 not too long ago, I used to blend this with the Weller 12 to make a poor man's pappy. It's not the Weller Antique 107. It is Baker's, the old small batch. Now, this currently is pretty much like a dusty nowadays, guys, since it is the new single barrel. For everyone that doesn't know, it comes as a single barrel offering now. Sorry about the light reflection. There you go. Alrighties, now this bottle I've frequently enjoyed a lot in the past. As you can tell by these empties, I do used to stock up on them. I did used to stock up on them. But nowadays, it's becoming very harder to find. Technically, I should probably hold on to this, to a collector online on Google. This is probably roughly $300 plus. But you know what? We're going to crack it open because I have been missing this flavor and I have been wondering about that blend I used to do with the Weller 12. Since I have some Weller 12 left, I figured I may as well open this, so down the line I'm going to try that old 60-40 combination. But let's get it open. Alrighty, so here we go. Look at this long tab that it comes in here. Hopefully it doesn't break on me. Here we go. Alrighties. Boom. Just gonna sit that up there. Alrighties. Pause for the cork pop. Oh. Oh, that was at the point of it was going to start breaking soon. Hey, how about that? See, so it was real corks back in the day. Now, keep in mind, even the Bookers nowadays comes as synthetic corks. But anyways, enough about that. This used to be half the problem with this batch. Sometimes the cork is broken, but you know what? Enough about that. Let's pour up some. Alrighties. Here we go. Now let me put that down for a sec. Whoa, that's not even tight anymore. Alrighties, so Baker's, a part of the Jim Beam small batch collection. I've reviewed this in the past before. Like I've explained, I've had it plenty of times. For everyone that can't remember, it is 77% corn, 13% rye, 10% malted barley. This is particularly aged only 7 years, as nowadays they will say the year and the month on top here. Maybe it's too bright for you to notice there, but alrighties. Let me have a little read for you at the back, since I normally like to do this. So, batch B9 B90001. So it says, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, my bourbon followers, our Beam family tradition of putting our best secrets inside the bottle. Not here on the label. I've distilled 6 generations of bourbon skills into this bottle. That's a lot of secrets. Please savor its smooth flavor over ice with a splash of water, or however you take your bourbon. Baker Beam. Alrighties, that's what it just said there. Alrighties. Oh my goodness, it has been a while. Alrighties, here we go. Color, golden amber. It is relatively nice and dark, but obviously not the darkest in the world. Now, I'm just curious, that nuttiness, will it be there? Of course it will, but how did I used to remember this? I can't even remember now, so that's why we're doing this. Here we go, guys. Okay. Honestly, this wasn't really how I remembered it at all. I remembered it more orange peely, whereas this, it's kind of like a dusty, earthy, fruity note. It's an earthy fruity. It's not necessarily like bright fruit. Yes, there is a presence of oak there. You could look at it even as tobacco leaf. But yes, the backbone of it all, it is that roasted peanut note. You know, your signature vanilla, the caramel's all there. But this one right here, guys, I am getting some, it's almost like a corn chip, like Doritos, if you have Doritos. You know what? Beautiful nose. I mean, it wasn't as I remembered, but, you know, like, even though they say it's all the same batch, you know, like, I'm sure maybe there's certain variations, maybe, you know, from bottle to bottle, unlike the single barrel, which is going to be a whole lot more variations because these releases now actually come from one single barrel. So depending on what barrel you get, it's all going to be different. Plus, it's all different ages now. It's just not 7 years. Like that particular one is 8 years, 8 months. But I will be getting more in the future, like as in the single barrel. I'm going to compare it against this, see if we rather the old small batch or if we're enjoying these single barrels. I mean, essentially, maybe if you just mixed a whole bunch of single barrels together, you could get like a small batch, maybe. Anyways, let's go. First sip. Here we go. Cheers, everyone. Mm, mm. Oh, you can feel that heat. Now, I didn't mention that. Oh, yes, well, I did mention, I mean, the 107 antique substitute. So obviously, it's 107 proof, which is 53.5%. That was actually really hotter than I recall. I mean, it drinks slightly hot. I mean, it is over 50%. Maybe it's because I've just been used to drinking some 90 proofers of these past, you know, of lately. I've been cracking these 90 proofers, 45%, 45.2. So maybe I've just missed a higher proof and just forgotten how it was like to have that extra heat. But that's probably why half the reason I wanted to open this too, because the experimental blend batch that I used, the Woodford Reserve and the Weller 12 50/50, actually it needs more proof. So we are going to experiment some more in the future. But before we get into that, let's go back for a second sip, guys. Yeah, there is a... What is it? It's definitely like an earthy, fruity note. I mean, maybe like a unripe strawberries. It's like an earthy fruit. It's really hard to describe. I mean, after tasting all these more vanilla, sweet, more caramel forward, more oaky vibes, bourbons lately, this is just really standing out to me as different now. Whereas originally I was really picturing it as that traditional, that orange peel, you know, the roasted peanutty notes. Ah, you know what? Very interesting nose. Let's have another sip. Cheers, everyone. It's almost even funky, guys. Like maybe it's that dusty corn, kind of funky, earthy fruit note that's gaining my attention right now. Now, I'm not saying in any means that this is a mind-blowing bourbon. It's not like mind-blowing or anything, but honestly, for what it is, it holds its own. You know, it delivers on the quintessentials and extra. There you go. Anyways, let's have another sip, guys. Final sip. Mm. Mm. That earthy fruit, it's almost coming across like like a like an apple kind of note, but more like a sour kind of apple. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a, I don't want to say off fruit, like an apple that's going past its date, you know, when the apple's a bit bruised and you're starting to get less of a bright green apple note, but more of a funky apple note, if that makes sense. You know what? Let's go get an ice cube, since it did say try it with ice. You know what? Let's try it with ice. Alrighty, so let me go get an ice cube. I'll be back in a second. Here we go, guys. Oh, uh-oh, didn't pause. And we're back. My apologies, people. Live, unedited, unscripted. So, yeah, very unprofessional, but at least I'm going to be honest about it. I did pay for everything. So, that being said, maybe I'm thinking this funky note, this earthy, rotten apple. Oh no, that sounds terrible, but it is interesting. It's like an earthy fruitiness. Maybe it's coming from the cork. Like, look at that cork, guys, and look at this. It is really loose. Maybe some air has gotten in there. So, that being said, there is always a debate about how maybe bourbon back in the day, you know, used different corn, different ingredients, none of this, you know, genetically modified shenanigans. So maybe that old dusty funky note, it's something from, you know, just because of how it was made differently. Or maybe something happens in the bottle when you keep it for a while. Or maybe if the cork gets affected, it could also give off a different flavor to the bourbon. I'm just saying, because I've had a few of these bottles and I do not recall this funky note. Now, before we add in the ice cube, I am going to try it with a drop of water. So let's have a nose before we add in the water. Yep, funky. Here we go. Maybe some more water. Alright. I mean, still same nose. I think it's just going to tame down the heat, but we're not going to know until we have a sip. Here we go, guys. Cheers, everyone. Yeah, definitely tamed down that heat, but all that flavor's still there. I mean, it is over 50%, so it would hold that drop of water fine. But you know what? Let's just pour up some more and let's put in an ice cube. I'll pause it for now. Alrighties, extra poured up. We have an ice cube. Let's go. Okay. Now, normally I don't really like to add in an ice cube too much unless it's barrel proof, and even then I enjoy the heat. I enjoy letting it tell me that it is barrel proof. But sometimes on a hot sunny day, you know, adding in an ice cube really does bring down that heat, makes it a whole lot more approachable, smooth, easier to drink while still having that full flavor. But let's see how this holds up with an ice cube. Cheers, everyone. Oh yeah, all the flavor's still there, all that heat, all that spice. I mean, that alcohol vibes is gone. You are getting all the flavor still. You know, there's that roasty nut vibe, earthy fruitiness, off apple, I'm gonna call it. That sounds bad. Don't think that that's bad, guys, but let's just say it's like a bruised apple. It's not like a sweet green apple. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you enjoy the old small batch, or do you enjoy the single barrel versions more. I mean, I'm just a sucker for liking to tuck away older releases, you know, because it becomes harder to get, and you know, you start to become a collector side. But we will be blending this with the Weller 12 and experimenting with it, so tune in soon for more videos. Alright guys, here we go. Yeah, there is something funky about this bottle, guys. It is like a dusty, earthy fruit. and that off kind of apple, which is interesting, alright? The vanillas, the caramels, all there. But you know what? Definitely would be nice on a hot summer day, especially with the ice cube. No more heat, no more Kentucky hug. But you know what? Cheers, everyone. Drink responsibly and don't drink and drive, guys. I remember it more nutty and more orange peely. I mean, I almost want to crack the other bottle just to see if it tastes the same as this, or maybe it is the cork. But anyways, I'm rambling. I'll catch you all next time. See you all.